I beat him. I controlled the fight. He was missing. I hit him clean more times. I beat him.
You must understand, my foot was a balloon. You know what I mean? My toes came out of the socket.
No, Jack Reese definitely had delays on that count. I've seen the fight like 6 times.
What were you thinking at that moment? And he had claimed that you had possibly tapped out, and he was comment on that.
Hey there guys, I hope you're all doing well. For this video I wanted to delve into some of the more bizarre and baffling excuses made by fighters in the wake of losses. I've chosen to cover both MMA and boxing, as both arenas have seen pitiful excuses deployed in order to discredit the opponent's victory. Let's get into it. Coming into the bout off the back of a 15-fight win streak, British heavyweight David Haye went into the Vladimir Klitschko fight in Hamburg with 4 belts up for grabs. Haye was of course confident, believing his speed would secure him a win over the Ukrainian in the biggest fight of his career. And so, after effectively 3 years of trash talking, the fight commenced on the 2nd of July 2011. In spite of the hype, the matchup was a dull affair. Haye's reputation as a heavy hitter meant he was never actually out of the running. But as each round that passed by began with the potential for the Brit to spark into life, the 3 minutes that followed quickly saw such optimism drain away. Staying out of range and dominating with his jab, Klitschko controlled proceedings throughout. It wasn't pretty, but it was mighty effective. The only setback for him was a point being deducted in round 7. He knocked Haye down in the 11th, yet it had seemed more of a push. The scorecards in Germany could sometimes be controversial, but there was no doubting who had won. Klitschko was victorious on all 3 of the judges' scorecards. It was an emphatic way to silence the doubters. Nevertheless, Haye would go on to attribute the loss to something besides skill.
A majority of the reason, and I hate when boxers make excuses after fights, it makes me sick, but you know, I broke my toe 3 weeks ago, and there was no way I was going to pull out of this fight.
Claiming he was unable to plant his boot down properly because of the injury, he was supposedly incapable of delivering shots with any real force behind them. Ultimately, the lack of competition provided by Haye, alongside the bizarre excuse which, if as serious as he claimed, should have seen him withdraw from the fight, was entirely baffling and somewhat pathetic. Granted, the Brit was a great boxer, yet he really missed the mark on this one on the night, as reiterated by Klitschko himself.
It's an excuse. The man has been checked before by a medical commissioner, and he was clear and he was ready to fight. If you're in the ring, there is no excuses.
For this next excuse, we switch over to UFC Vegas 69, held in February 2023. A flyweight bout between Brazil's Jessica Andrade and America's Erin Blanchfield saw a round 2 victory for the fighter from the States. Aside from a clean rear naked choke, the fight will be primarily remembered for the excuse that followed from the Brazilian. Andrade claimed that when Blanchfield came for the takedown, she put her shoulder just under her top, causing her breast to completely slip out. This inevitably led to Andrade losing focus and forgetting to counter. She would later state, "All I could think of was my breast. When I used my hand to put my breast back in the top, that's when she was able to take me down." Now, I can imagine that such an ordeal would be incredibly distracting, but to basically attribute the loss entirely to it does appear far-fetched. Anyways, it's a funny story regardless.
I don't know. She didn't say anything during the fight, and I didn't really notice anything. Maybe something kind of like slipped. I don't really know. If she wanted to do something about it, she would have to like say something during the fight, you know?
Deontay Wilder, although a respected and feared boxer, certainly has made his fair share of excuses after losses. After his loss to Tyson Fury in the second bout of their trilogy on the 22nd of February 2020, Wilder attempted to blame his defeat on the 40-pound costume he wore during his ring walk. He would later claim that, "Fury didn't hurt me at all, yet the costume left me with no legs from the beginning of the fight." Maybe this could be slightly credible, but the bout was massively one-sided, with Fury landing major hits on the side of Wilder's head. The injuries sustained evidently suggest significant damage incurred, debunking Wilder's myth. Even if he was worn down by the costume on the night, he was still massively outclassed and has drawn vast criticism since.
You're right, it wasn't the 40-pound suit that he had on coming to the ring. That may have been a reason why his legs weren't there, but it wasn't the reason. I think it was the 273 pounds of flesh that Tyson Fury had on him that wore Deontay down.
The next excuse is particularly fascinating, mainly because Wilder cited it as a major asset in his future fighting capabilities before the inevitable implosion. In the days leading up to Wilder's clash with Joseph Parker on the 23rd of December 2023, the American described himself as being reborn after going through a psychedelic drug program in Costa Rica. The facility provided the fighter with a South American psychoactive brew called ayahuasca. The substance contains DMT, a powerful hallucinogenic chemical, alongside MAO inhibitors. These affect the central nervous system, leading to an altered state of consciousness that can include hallucinations, out-of-body experiences, and euphoria. Wilder believed that it made him happier and aided him in appreciating the smallest things. Yet, other fighters and commentators seemed wary of the drug's influence on Wilder.
I truly feel like I do want to do ayahuasca, but Deontay Wilder just did it and he don't seem the same.
In what way?
He just seemed more docile, and it don't look he got
maybe
that
that's
rage.
Outside of the,
I seen him hitting mitts in training.
He looks docile hitting
I just
mitts.
I don't see that old Deontay Wilder. He totally different.
Wilder would go on to lose to Parker decisively on points. This was a catalyst for the American to change his tune, claiming that ayahuasca had effectively extinguished the fire in his belly for the sport.
Do you still have that same fire you used to?
I don't know, a lot has calmed me down, I've done ayahuasca, I've been in rhythmia and done ayahuasca, I've found a lot of peace in my life.
His focus was now merely on other things. Although this did not directly constitute a staunch excuse for the loss, he would later go on to state that the defeat was explicitly due to spending too long in a cryotherapy chamber. Wilder landed less than 40 punches come the final bell, so I'm not sure this excuse holds weight. He simply performed really poorly, likely suffering from ring rust. Paulo Costa, one of the biggest characters on the UFC roster, with a massive fanbase dotted across the globe. But it's safe to say he doesn't always accept losses with grace and decorum. This was all too apparent in the aftermath of UFC 253 in September 2020, which saw Israel Adesanya TKO the Brazilian in the second round. He was beaten fair and square in the eyes of many, yet this didn't stop Costa making outlandish claims to explain the first loss of his UFC career.
And I'm waiting for you. Something happened before the fight. I'm not excused here to my people, my fans, but I will be 100% to fight him and to make him pay.
On his YouTube channel, he stated that the night prior to the bout he had been incapable of falling asleep and consequently turned to alcohol to mitigate this. He later revealed that he drank a bottle of wine, leading to him being a little drunk when he fought, or maybe being hungover to a degree, and therefore explaining his lethargic display. Well, the media and former fighters simply didn't buy it.
Paulo Costa said he had a hangover and was possibly drunk the night he fought Adesanya.
So he had to drink an entire bottle of wine, and he still wasn't able to sleep.
Oh, that's why he fought.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh, that makes sense. The only person that's dealt with a loss worse than this is Deontay Wilder.
I mean, as far as post-fight excuses go, this might be an all-timer.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, an advice I would give someone like Paulo in this situation is just humble yourself. Accept the fact that the skinny claw whooped your ass.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave a like and subscribe if you're new. More videos coming soon. Cheers.